So today, no, I'm going to start with tenses. Okay. Tenses again, it comes for competitive exams and for placements. Okay, tenses. As I told you that it is part of competitive exams and other exams. So and again, it is an important topic. Okay, even if you want to speak well in English, you need to know the difference and how to use tenses properly. So we'll start with the very basic thing. Okay, so before knowing tenses you should know how what are verbs and how it works. Okay, and as you know that there are different kinds of verbs. First we'll focus only on main verbs and action verbs. Okay, so when it comes to verbs, we have what we call as main verbs, and the other one is action verbs. Okay, I'm sorry, main verbs or action verbs. Okay, and then there is something called as auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs, or you can call it as helping verbs, or you can call it as be verbs. Okay, like supporting verbs. It has several names. Now these are all same. Okay, so from this word you understand that any word that denotes an action can be considered as a uh, you know main verb, and there are different other verbs also. Like for example, there are something called as stative verbs. We have regular verbs, okay, and irregular verbs. We have so many things. Then we have something called as transitive verbs, intransitive verbs. These are all different kinds of verbs, but let us not focus on all these things here. We are focusing only on main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Okay, this is very important for this topic. So, for example, you know what a main verb is. A main verb will always have an action, like for example, play, say, run, eat, swim, like this. And every word that is written here as an action. Okay, this is main verb. Okay, and we use this with every tense. This is one thing. And what are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are verbs that supports the main verbs in some way, and it gives meaning to the sentence, right? So we'll have to know about the different forms of verbs now. Okay, so when it comes to forms of verbs, we have three. Okay, so we'll simply call it V1, then we have something called V2, and then we have something called as V3. Okay, now this is nothing but first form of verb. This is called as first form of verb, second form of verb, and third form of verb. Okay, so when we talk about first form of verb, we'll take the same example. Okay, we'll take the same example. So when we talk about first form of verb, now I'll write play here. When I want to write the second form of verb, for the same one I have to write as played. So what I do, I add ed to it. And this one V3 form, that will be again the same, played. Okay, same thing. But then there is a huge difference between this one and this one. Okay, that we'll see as we proceed with the tenses. But you understand that the three forms of play is play, played, and played. Now, you should also remember with the other name. Now, for example, this is called as the first form of verb, and we use it only with the present tense. This is very important. We use it with the present tense, play. Okay, and this one we use it only with the past tense, and this one we use it with the perfect tense. Any doubts so far, dear? Are you all following? No problem, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
dear.
sir.
ஓகேம்மா. ஸோ இங்கே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா த்ரீ ஃபார்ம்ஸ் ஆஃப் வேர்ப்ஸ் நான் கொடுத்துருக்கேன், V1, V2 and V3. And This is the first form of verb. So first form of verb will be always we use it with the present tense, and V2 form we use it with the past tense, and V3 form we use it with the perfect tense. Okay. Now, um, okay. Now, uh, okay. Now this one, this V3, now this V3 is also called as past participle. It's called as past participle. Okay. And whenever you add ing, whenever you add ing to the base form of the verb, base form of the verb is the first form of verb, that is play. In the case of this word play, play is the first form. We cannot reduce it to another word, right? We can only add it. Okay, we can only add extra letters here, but you cannot reduce it. So play is the beginning word. That is why we call it as base word. So when I add ing to play, it becomes playing. Now, whenever I use ing, that means we are calling it as present participle. It's called as present participle. And V3 form is called as past participle. This you should remember always. And where do we use the present participle? We use it with the continuous tense. And the continuous tense can come in all the three tenses, that is in the present, past, or future. Okay, so we have three main types of tenses. Okay, so present participle used with continuous tense. Continuous tense ka, there is another name. It's called as progressive tenses or progressive tense. These are the basic things that you have to remember. So I hope it is very clear. Okay, I'll repeat it once again, uh, very fast. So as of verbs, there are different types of verbs, but we are focusing only on the main verb and the auxiliary verb here. So main verb always represents an action. An auxiliary verb, it depends, because there are different types of auxiliary verbs. And what are those? Like for example, if you talk about the present tense, now we have auxiliary verb is am, is, and are. And the past tense auxiliary verb is was and were. Okay. For perfect tense, that is present perfect tense, we have two, that is has and have. And for past, we have one, that is had. Okay. These are some of the commonly used. And beyond this, we have other verbs also. Like for example, no, you take do, we have do, did, done, like that many other things are there. Okay, now as of now we'll focus only on this. So these are things. And then we have other types of verbs like stative verbs, regular, irregular, transitive, intransitive, and all the other things. Okay, and main divisions are v1, v2, and v3. That is first form of verb, second form of verb, and third form of verb. V1 is used for present tense, V2 is used for past tense, and V3 is used for perfect tense. Okay. Perfect in the sense it can come for present perfect or past perfect. Okay, it can come in both the places. So that we call it as past participle. And if we add ing, we call it as present participle. Okay, and present participle will be used only with the continuous tense. Okay, or the progressive tense. Continuous tense is also called as the progressive tense. Okay, I hope you understood. Any doubts so far, dear? No problem, right?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. The next one is we'll focus on the other words. Now, when we talk about regular and irregular verbs, now I gave you an example like, so I'll give you an example, this one. Okay, right? This is the V1 form. What is the V2 form, dear, for right? What is the V2 form? Second form.
Wrote,
Yeah,
wrote, sir.
Wrote.
yeah, very good. Yeah, it is
Wrote,
wrote. What is the third form?
Written.
written.
Yeah, very good. It is written. This is the third form, V3 form. We call it as V3 form. Now, if you see this, we have all different words. Write is different, wrote is different, and written is different. They are different in terms of spelling. They are different in terms of pronunciation. Okay, everything. They are different in some in terms of sound, pronunciation, and like this. So see, when verbs are very different, when the forms of the verbs are very different, we call it as irregular verbs. This is irregular. The whole things are irregular. Now you can also write this, speak, spoke, spoken. All are different, right? Then for example you can say drink, uh, drunk, drunken. Nah, இப்படிதானே எழுதுவோம். So these are different. You see the way these words are very different from. They don't look normal, right? They are irregular. That is why we call it as irregular. But for regular, you'll have the same construction. Okay, like play. Again the same thing. I'm just adding ed. Again the same thing. I'm just adding ed. So this looks regular. So this is why we call it as regular tense. Okay, this is how it works. Now these are some basic things that you have to remember with, before getting into tenses. Okay. Okay, now we'll go to the first tense, then we'll slowly proceed with the other things. Okay, what is the first tense, dear? We'll focus only on the present now. We'll focus only on the present. So what is the first tense?
Simple present.
Very good. It is simple present. Now, I'll make it very easy for you. We'll always learn with an example so that you will be able to understand it well. Now, when we talk about simple present, for example, I'll write I play chess. Now, can you tell me what these words are? What is this, dear? What is this? And what is this? What is I? I is subject, right?
I subject, sir.
Very good. Play is verb.
Verb,
Chess is the
object.
very good object. Now, tell me whether this I is singular or plural. This I, is it singular or plural?
Sing.
Okay, I is singular. Okay, then tell me whether this verb is singular or plural.
Plural.
Plural. Are you sure? What about chess, dear? Chess is the object, so we'll leave it. Let us not require. Okay, we are focusing only on the subject and the verb. So now I'll tell you how it works. We have something called as he plays, right? Now tell me whether this is singular or plural. He is it singular, dear?
Singular.
கரெக்ட் தான். ஹீன்னா ஒருத்தர் தானே, அப்போ சிங்குலர் தானே வரும் இது. கரெக்ட் தான், சிங்குலர். பிளேஸ் வந்து என்னது, சிங்குலரா ப்ளூரல்லா?
Plural.
ப்ளூரல்லா? ஷுவரா? ஏன் ப்ளூரல்? சரி, இப்போ நான் வந்து I'll tell you a rule here, then you will understand everything. Okay, இப்போ வந்து ஓகே, ஸ்விம் என்ற எக்ஸாம்பிள் நம்ம எடுத்துக்கலாம். when you take swim, this is one word, there is another word, swims. Correcta? Now I can say, இப்போ நான் வந்து இந்த ஸ்விம் கூட என்னென்ன சப்ஜெக்ட்ஸ் வந்து யூஸ் பண்ணலான்னு சொல்கிறேன். இப்போ I can say I swim. Okay, I can say you swim. I can say they swim, right? Or I can say we swim. Is it correct here? நான் ஸ்விம்ஸுக்கு பார்க்கலாம். I can say, சும்மா எக்ஸாம்பிள் எழுதுறேன், ரமேஷ் swims. I can say he swims, or I can say she swims. Okay, then that's all. That's all I can say. So now tell me whether what we have written for play is correct or not. அதுக்கு முன்னாடி I'll tell you, this swim na, this is plural. This one is plural. This one is singular. I'll tell you why. Now, Ramesh is one person. He means one person. She is also one person. So, apdina subjects are singular. So, for singular subject, okay, this is singular subject. Each one is singular subject. Well, what I've done is, for singular subject, I have used this. And what is that? Singular subject, I have used what? Singular verb. Okay. For if the subject is singular, then I am using a singular verb. But here, I is one person. You can be one, or it can be two. It depends on whether I'm speaking to one person or whether I'm speaking to a class. If I say you all should come tomorrow, looking at everybody in the classroom, that means it is in the plural sense. Okay, so you changes as per the context, but they is um, they is always more people. Correct? It can be two or more people. Similarly, we can also be two or more people, but definitely not one person. Okay, now these two things are there, no, these two things, they are always plural, because we know they na நிறைய பேரு, we na நிறைய பேரு. அப்ப சப்ஜெக்ட் வந்து ப்ளூரலா இருந்துச்சுன்னா வேர்பும் என்னவா இருக்கணும்? If the subject is plural, verb will also be plural. Okay, but here Ramesh is one person, he is one person, she is one person. So that means when we are talking about just singular subject, the verb that we are supposed to use after the singular subject should also be singular. And that is why we say Ramesh swims, he swims, she swims. So if it is singular, the verb should come. This yes should come, definitely. But here you see, I swim, you swim, they swim, we swim. So For they and we, it's always plural verb. If it's a plural subject, plural verb. But always remember that I and you, okay, whether it is singular or plural, whatever the context is, you should always use a plural verb. Wherever you see in a sentence, if you see I and you is used, then the verb should always be a plural. You cannot use a singular verb for these two words. This is a rule. Okay. So that is the reason here I'll write it so it will not confuse you. That is the reason I say I play. But according to this rule, if the subject is singular, we have to use singular verb. But unfortunately, what happens here is, though it looks like singular, I, but we cannot use singular verb. Instead, we have to use a plural verb. So play is a plural verb. Okay. This is what you have to understand here, right? This is one thing that you have to understand. Now, um, but na you again for you also you should use play one. You cannot use any other terms or any other words. Okay, it is always plural. Okay, these things you should remember. And I'll tell you why these things are very important. It is very important because there is a topic called as error spotting. There is a topic called as error spotting, which you will have to learn under verbal ability. Okay, for exams, for placements and exams. So under this, if you want to solve error spotting questions correctly, you have to learn something called as subject verb agreement. It's called as subject verb agreement. We simply call it as SVA. So this you should learn. And what is this? Whatever I've taught you now, that is called a subject verb agreement. That is, the subject should always agree to the verb. This is the basic rule under subject verb agreement. So it should always, it tells us subject and verb should agree to each other. If it is not agreeing to each other, that is in terms of singular and plural. If it is not agreeing, then there is an error. Okay, so what they will do is they will give you a sentence, and in that sentence they will use a subject and they will insert a wrong verb, or they will use a verb and insert a wrong subject. So you need to identify whether the subject and verbs are correctly used. If that is the rule, is this: a singular subject will always take a singular verb, a plural subject will always take a plural verb. Either you guys have to remember this: singular subject, singular verb. Okay, plural subject, plural verb. The rule is very easy, but finding out whether the verb is singular or plural is difficult. For that only you guys have to practice. Okay, so that is why I told you, somewhere I wrote na. Wait, we'll come with another example. Ma, is it complicated? Did you all understand? Any
Yes, sir.
doubts, dear?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. கஷ்டமா இருந்தா சொல்லுங்க, நான் திரும்ப I'll try to explain it for you so that 1 minute. Even it's not working properly. 1 minute here. Okay. சரி, இப்போ வந்து we'll take up a very simple example so you will understand. Now imagine I am writing, how do we use the same word? Right. There are two words now, right and rights. Okay. So this is, see, these two words are used only for present. You know that these two words are used only for present. And this one, writing, this is used for present but continuous tense. This is used for present continuous tense. Okay. Then what is the past form? Wrote. This is used for simple past. Okay. And what is the perfect form? Written. This is used for perfect tenses. That is past perfect tense only. This is used for past perfect tense. And for present perfect tense also we use this. Okay, so you can simply write as can be used for both this thing, both the perfect tenses. Okay, so we'll see examples related to this word, so you will understand. So the first tense that we have to solve is a simple present tense. So for this, I'll write an example. I write a letter. This is simple present tense. So simple present tense always uses which form of verb? First form of verb. So write is the first form of verb. So I write a letter. Um, that means imagine there is a line. Okay, imagine there is a line, and imagine this. There are three places. So this is present. Okay, this is past, and this is future. That means uh, beyond this is only past. Okay, and beyond this is only future. From here to here it is present. We'll consider it as present. So when I say I write a letter, I'm talking about the action is happening. The action is happening. Okay, so it's happening somewhere here. It's happening. I write a letter. That means um, I write a letter. Now for example, you say I go to work. Somebody asks you, what are you doing? You say I go to work. That means it is going on. This is again be one example. It is going on. I go to work. Then you can also say I study. That means the action is started and it is in progress. It is just going. I study. We are not worried about when it started and all. Okay, we are not even concerned about when it started. That and all we are not worried. We are only telling I'm studying or I'm working. Okay, presently I'm working. Okay, so for this kind of usage we use simple present. Normally, I'll give you one more example. Imagine something that doesn't change in the course of time. Now, for example, I'll tell you. We use honey is sweet. Look at the auxiliary verb that I'm using. I'm using is. Okay, this is the auxiliary verb, and it is a present auxiliary verb. Honey is a noun. Sweet, again a noun. Okay, it talks about the taste. Now here, if you look at this example, we understand that we are talking about the property of honey. We are trying to tell people that honey is sweet. That means honey is always sweet. You understand? It never changes. The property never changes. Honey is always sweet. So that is, this sentence is written in simple present. This sentence is written in simple present tense. Okay, because honey is a noun. Here you can call it as a subject. This is the verb, and this is whatever it is, object or whatever it is. But the most important thing is what form we have used. So for form, you have to use like this. We have used subject plus we have used verb. And what verb it is? It is an auxiliary verb that we have used. It is. And this is in present tense. So how do you decide or how do you confirm that this sentence is in present tense? How will you confirm that? The only way that you have to confirm is based on what auxiliary verb we are using here. But look into this example, there is no main verb here. The main verb is missing. So that means there can be sentences even without the main verb or the action verb. But it should have auxiliary verb by all means. And you should find out the tense of the auxiliary verb. So how do I find this tenses in simple present tense? Based on the auxiliary verb that is used. We are using is the present auxiliary verb. I told you in the last this one I told you there is something called as is, there is something called as am, and there is something called as are, and we use this only for present tense. I told you. So is comes here. Now you say I am a teacher. In this example, you have to find out. Okay, I is a subject. Now am is a auxiliary verb, and am is what auxiliary verb? It is present auxiliary verb. A is an article, and teacher is a noun, or it can be an object here, whatever it is. We'll let us not bother about this word. Okay, we're focusing only on the subject and the verb. So from this sentence, how will I confirm that this is a present simple present tense? Based on subject. So subject is I. Okay, singular subject. Now am is there. Am means we are talking about present. It's an auxiliary verb and it talks about the present. Okay, so that means this sentence is in simple present. That's all. And you have to understand it in this way. Okay, I am. So this is sentence is in present tense. Okay, this is the way that you have to understand how to use it. This is one thing dear. Okay. Okay. So now that is one usage of the simple present tense. Now we are getting into the second usage of the simple present tense. That is, the first usage is simple present is used to represent universal truth or facts. This is the first important point that you have to remember. Simple present tense is used to represent universal truth or facts. I'll give you one more example. This example you should be knowing. The sun rises in the east. Now here the sun is the subject. Okay, wow. The sun under the subject. Rises under the verb. It denotes an action. Okay. In the east under the vitrala, and that is not required for us. Okay. So the sun rises in the east. Okay. Now the sun is what subject? It is singular subject. So that means I should use a singular verb. So how do I find whether a verb is singular or not? You can try to use it with the pronouns. If you use it with the pronouns, it will be easy for you to find. Now, can I say I rise, we rise, or what will come? You will say, see, for this one, you can say he rises or she rises early. That's all. Early. Getting up early, I'm telling. Now that means okay, it can be used with he, it can be used with she. அப்படின்னா அப்ப இந்த rises ன்றது என்னவா இருக்கும்? It is singular because he and she is singular, na. So we are able to find out. Okay, this is singular. Now this one is plural because you can use this with I, you, we, they. Only with these words you can use this. Okay, so now we know that rice is plural. Okay, here you come. The sun is only one thing that we are talking about. The sun is one, so it is singular, and we're using a singular verb, rices, because rices is singular. So that means subject and verb agreement is correct. There's no problem. Okay, like this you have to understand. So one important thing that you have to understand is simple present tense used for universal truth and facts. It talks about things which doesn't change. Okay, fine. This is one thing that you have to understand. Okay, what is the next one? Next one is again important. It talks about routine activity. It talks about routine activity. That means, okay, the bus starts at 6 p.m. Okay. Now you see the bus is a subject. Okay. The bus is a subject and it is just talking about one thing. So it is a singular subject. Bus is one na. So it is singular. Now I have to use singular verb only. So starts again. If I add s to a verb, it becomes singular. Singular verb. So subject and verb agreement is correct. But what you have to understand here is I'm telling the bus starts at 6 p.m. So I'm talking about a routine. I'm talking about a daily happening. Regularly happening things um, are written using simple present tense. For example, I get up early. Every day you get up early. That means a regular routine. So look at the verb that I'm using. Get is V1. Okay, V1 form. That is simple present form. Okay, so I get up early. So I is singular. Again, this is also singular. Okay, why singular? Sorry, this is plural. Get is plural because I is there na. I told you na, I and you. It's always plural. Okay, don't confuse here. Say I and you. It's always plural. So this is plural. This is plural, and the singular is gets. Okay, see, I'll make it easy for you. The only difference between the and the verb, noun and the verb. Noun, you take any word, for example, you take table, dear. For verb, mm, you take help. Example சொல்றேன். You take help. Okay. இப்போ இதில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டேபிள்ன்றது சிங்குலர். ஓகேவா? அப்போ நவுனை வந்து நான் if I want to convert into plural, I have to add yes. So then only it will become plural. This is in the case of noun. But in the case of verb, no. There is a word called as help and there is also a word called as helps. But the problem is it is opposite to verb is always opposite to noun. So what happens here is only when I add yes, it will become singular. If I don't add anything, it is always plural. Okay, that is the reason why I say, he helps ன்னு எழுதுறோம். பட் நம்ம வி என்ன சொல்றோம்? ஹெல்ப் தான் சொல்றோம். if for example இங்க she எழுதலாம். she helps. பட் இங்க வந்து they எழுதுனா they helpன்னு தான் சொல்லணும். அதே மாதிரி ஐக்கும் என்ன பண்ணணும்? I help. You help. I hope you understand here. Okay, this is with respect to just the first tense. Okay, simple present tense. Now, I've taught you two things now. One thing is uh, the tense, the different form of verbs and all the other things. And another thing I'm teaching you side by side is subject verb agreement. That also you should know because these things are closely related. Okay, now first simple present tense is over. I'm sorry. Fine. So we'll go to the tense too. Is it okay, ma? Any doubts so far, ma? Things are okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, I'm teaching slowly so that you can understand, okay? And these things are very important because most of us make errors in terms of sentence construction. So, tense is very important for speaking correctly and writing correctly. So, simple present tense is over. Now we are going to uh, present continuous tense. Present continuous tense. Now, present continuous tense is also called as progressive tense. Not just present continuous. All the continuous tenses is called as progressive tense also. So, in case they tell you, give you progressive tense, don't get confused. They're just talking about the continuous tense. And for continuous tense, you should always remember we'll use ing form. And what is it called? It is called as present participle. It's called as present participle. Okay. And tenses is very easy and very nice topic here. If you take interest, you can learn very nicely. Okay. So yeah. Now, what is the meaning of present continuous? To understand this, we'll draw a line. Okay. And then I'll separate the this one. So whatever is beyond this point, we'll consider it as future. Whatever is beyond this point, we'll consider it as past. But anything from this point to this point is called as present. Okay. Now let me give an example. If I'm writing, I am listening to music. I'm writing a sentence. I am listening to music. Now, when will I speak this sentence? When will I speak this sentence? Only when somebody asks me, what are you doing? When somebody asks me, what are you doing? I will answer, I am listening to music. So, this implies that the person is asking about what you're doing two ways. What you're doing generally or what you're doing right now. For these two things, this question can be answered. If you're saying, I am listening to music, then you're answering this right now. They see this the the person who's asking the question is not adding this. Now, what are you doing now? This is understood. It is not there in the question, but this is understood from the way the speaker speaks. That we call it as context. Okay. So based on what the speaker is asking, sorry, what the person who's speaking is asking, I can answer either right now's answer or I can use generally's answer. But we need to understand that this particular sentence is answering this one right now. Okay. Now I will give you another example. If I ask, what is your father? If somebody asks me, what is your father? I will simply say, he is a businessman. Now that means he is asking about the occupation of my father. Okay, he's asking about the occupation of my father. So this indicates present, and I'm using a auxiliary purpose. That means he is a businessman. He is now a businessman. He is in the past was a businessman, and in the future also he will be a businessman. Okay, all the three is the same. Is it clear here? All the three, it is the same. This is one thing that you have to understand. The other one is, see, but this is an example for simple present tense. Okay. Now for continuous tense, I'll make it more interesting for you. So if I say, uh, I am studying engineering. Now, again, the person is asking a question about your status. He wants to know what you're doing. So you're saying, I'm studying engineering. That means what? Action has started in the past, but it is continuing. We are not talking about the end result. Nothing is being talked about the end result. We are only talking about the progress. Okay, progress. But this doesn't mean now. Now means this moment, right? Now means this moment. So what am I doing in this moment? What am I doing in this moment? I am teaching English now at this moment. But what are you? If somebody asks, what are you? I will say, I am a teacher. Now, I didn't, you know the difference between how you should answer. Okay. So when you say, I am teaching English, somebody, okay, I'll give you one more example. Somebody is calling me here over phone now. Suddenly I receive a call and that person is asking, what are you doing? Then I would say, I'm watching TV, or I should say, I'm writing, or I would say, I'm quite busy now. Can I talk to you later? Right? So that means that particular moment. We are talking about that instant, that particular moment. So progressive tense or continuous tense can talk about that particular moment, and it can also talk about an action which is in progress. Okay. Now, for example, I'll tell you, I am writing a book. If I tell this sentence to anyone, and everybody will understand, okay, this sir is writing a book. Okay, he's writing a book. It doesn't mean that I'm writing a book right now. It's not giving that meaning. It is stating that the writing a book is in progress. It is in progress. It is not happening right now, but this is going on. The action is going on. So imagine I started writing a book 2 months before, and still I'm writing a book, and I'll be completing this in another 2 months. Then that is the action is in progress. So the only thing that you have to remember is this, dear. Only thing you have to remember is this: continuous tense is used for um, expressing actions which takes place right now, and it can also talk about actions that is in progress. That is why we call it as progressive tense. These two things are possible only with continuous tense. Okay. So did you understand here? Any doubts so far? No problem.
No, sir.
సరే అప్పుడు இந்த ரெண்டு டென்ஸோட we'll stop I think because the time is up, and even if I teach you more things you will get confused. So with these two tenses we'll stop. Now it is easy only for you. You just have to remember the rules. If you can remember how it is used, where it is used, and what are the auxiliary verbs that are used with particular tenses, and how to use them correctly, then you can easily master tenses. Okay, so two tenses I have taught you. Try to solve questions from these tenses. If you go online now, there will be a lot of exercises. Whenever you have time, try answering those questions. In that way, it will be very good. So I think we'll wind up today, and tomorrow I'll come with the next tenses, and we'll try to do as best as we can. So in case you have any doubts and you find any questions which you cannot answer, you can bring it to the class and show it to me. In that way, we'll solve there. Okay. So thank you, dear. Tomorrow I'll meet you all with the next tense. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, dear. Bye.
Thank you, sir.